Ruth, your organisation works every day, of course, in the road safety sector. Just provide an overview of your work there.
Well, I'm currently the Chief Executive of UKROEd, which has the responsibility on behalf of the National Police Chiefs Council for running the courses that are diversionary courses for offenders who are caught speeding over the limit, some who commit careless driving offences, mobile phone offences. And on average, we run over 1 million courses every year for drivers who elect to take a course rather than collect points or go to court. We work with every police force in England and Wales and Northern Ireland, and every police force takes part in the scheme, which we run on behalf of the Police Chiefs Council.
Right. So can you give us some good examples of what you see as effective road safety interventions?
Well, for me, any intervention that causes a driver to reflect on their behaviour and make changes is the most impressive way that we can influence a change or a reduction in road deaths and casualties. I think our courses are proven as an immediate and effective intervention, but I've also seen some excellent work both in Europe and in the UK, particularly work with young drivers who perhaps don't appreciate the dangers of being a new driver on the roads, work with children to understand the dangers for themselves. And we all remember the Green Cross Code Man, but we need to have a modern version of that, one where youngsters in school understand that using the roads, whether you're a pedestrian or a driver, is a lifelong journey. So I've seen some really good initiatives. Devon and Cornwall Police did a brilliant initiative around going into schools and interacting with children of all ages and teenagers about the threat of driving, and also around being a passenger in a vehicle and the dangers that you have there. So I think that's really successful. The West Midlands Police did an amazing initiative which was there to look out for cyclists, and it was about close passing and making sure that drivers were giving cyclists the space they deserve as they share the road space. And that was a brilliant initiative that has really caught the imagination of drivers all over the world. And an initiative that really did impress me when I worked for the European Commission through TISPOL was in Belgium, where they targeted drivers who were had too much to drink, should never be driving, and they worked on peer pressure and making sure that those drivers gave their keys away, didn't get tempted to go into the vehicle, and that was a very, very successful initiative. I can give you many, many more, and perhaps another one I'll mention was in Germany. And this is something that the UK have also adopted. They introduced what they call speed marathons, where for 24 hours they had a focus on speeding and reducing speeding. And they went out to communities, and communities told them what the problems were with speeding. They identified the problem areas, and that's where the police then went. And together with the local community, they had conversations with drivers who were speeding over the limit. Very, very successful initiative in reducing speeding overall beyond the one day of the initiative. So hopefully there's just a few that I've seen over the last 3 or 4 years that have been really successful.
Yes, very good examples. Could you, Ruth, comment on the role of enforcement on improving road safety?
Well, enforcement is as important as education, and unfortunately I wish there was never the need to enforce. And Vision Zero is all about that. If we get to a stage where nobody is being killed on our roads, nobody has been seriously injured, and nobody is breaking the law, then we wouldn't need to enforce. But unfortunately, enforcement does have a part to play. I think drivers, as they pass their tests to drive different vehicles, need to recognise they have a responsibility to drive safely on the roads. And if they contravene the legislation, then enforcement is an important part of reducing road deaths and reducing KSIs. And where you have a country with proper legislation supporting road safety, you will usually see that they are the most successful in reducing road deaths and KSIs.
Look to the future. If you could identify the emerging threats to road safety that need to be understood and also to be addressed as well.
There are many, and I think we've learned a lot through our experience of dealing with COVID-19, the pandemic and lockdown, where we've seen that driver offending and speed limits have been ignored by many drivers because the roads were free. And I think that was a big message to us all. And, you know, we need to consider that. But I think the roads now are a shared space. And we share the roads with many users on many vehicles. But they weren't automatically designed for the use that we're now putting to them. So I really am a big supporter where local authorities and the government are encouraging the use of shared space safely so that we can all use the roads without risk or danger. So that's the first area I see. And we've seen also an increase in delivery vehicles, Deliveroo vehicles, the increase through the likes of online retailers who sell and then deliver their products. And I think we need to recognise that we need to make sure that they are doing their job safely. So I think that is another challenge for us as we go about our business.
So where do you suggest the opportunities lie then if we're going to see road deaths reducing?
Well, I certainly think in road design, particularly where, where we're building new housing estates, where we're developing roads, if we consider that shared space in the design, I think it will encourage more people to feel safe to use the roads, particularly cyclists and pedestrians. We're seeing lots of development in urban centres. If you take Manchester as an example, the amount of building there of apartments means that there's a new and growing community in the city centre, but the infrastructure is not there. So I think you need to make sure that we have proper public transport links that can carry passengers in volume, that can reduce the demand on the road to make that a safer place for people to use the roads, whether they be in a vehicle or as a pedestrian. And I also think we need to recognise where people cross the roads and make sure that we have proper signposted crossings for people to cross busy roads, particularly outside schools. And unfortunately, many of them are historic and they haven't been updated. And I think a review there could make a big difference.
Ruth Purdie, thank you very much for talking to us.
You're very welcome.